We go.
Grand Rising, Elizabeth. So wonderful to be before you today. Here is nice and sunny, and I believe it's going to be start warming up even for one day. It might not stay, but it should be warming up in this area. Um, let's see. I want to introduce my co-host today. She's gonna talk about a interesting subject, but I think we all can relate. She's gonna talk about anger. And we all have it every now and again or sometime in our life. Um, but she's going to discuss that. But I want to talk a little bit about my co-host. One thing I think that she is truly dynamic, and it's good to have someone in your family who can discuss health, healing, different ways you can, go through healing with pain or anything like that. And she is good, a good person to have in your life. And so, I really am thankful for her for being on our show. And also, I'm thinking about her family. They are really blessed. And so at this time, I would love to turn the table over to my co host, Nurse Stacy.
Grand Rising Elizabeth. I'm
Grand
happy
Rising.
to be here today. I'm blessed to be here today. And I thank God, I'm grateful, that I do have this opportunity to share something that is dear to me, especially in this day and age, and especially, in our lives. And a lot of times we don't think about anger and what it is and what it does to us and all these different kind of things. But I want to talk about what anger is, the pain, the love, and the wounds that are beneath the surface of it. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Um, Let me bring this up. Let me know when you guys can see it. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So as we get started, I want to take some time to look at anger in a way that most people never taught or never thought about. It's not as something bad. So we're not talking about anger as something bad, but something to not something bad or not something that we should avoid, but as something that actually has layers, it has depth, and it also has meaning. So by the time we finish, and that's hopefully, I think we might understand anger a lot more and sense it in a way that it will help ourselves and other people.
Okay.
Let me move this out of my way. Hide the floating controls. One second. I'm trying to advance forward and I don't know why it's not. There we go. So, what anger really is: the pain, love, and wounds beneath the surface. We'll talk about it a little bit in a second. The anger iceberg. So, whenever anger shows up, it's usually just a part of what we can see. But underneath it all, there are some feelings that don't always get words. Think about that. Underneath, there are feelings that don't always get words. It's hurt, fear, it could be disappointment, shame, worry. But most of the time, anger is really the surface reaction to something more vulnerable underneath. So when we start seeing the whole iceberg instead of just the top, which is anger, anger becomes a lot easier to understand. So just think of it as an iceberg. And usually when we see an iceberg, all we see is the top part. We don't see underneath the iceberg what's holding it up. So we want to look at the whole picture, seeing the whole iceberg instead of just the top. And then we'll be able to understand this a little bit more easier. So anger is a signal. It's not the whole story. What anger really is. Now, it says we have natural human emotions, which is true. Anger is a response to threat, boundaries, violation, or injustice. Anger also is protective and informative. And anger is not always aggression. So anger is actually a completely normal reaction. And some people think you're crazy if you get angry. Like, what's wrong with you? What's your problem? But anger is a completely normal reaction. It shows up when something feels off. And it could be that a boundary has been crossed, or something feels unfair to you, you know, or it could be something that touches a tender place in us that we're not aware of.
Sure.
And it also, it's not the same thing as aggression. So we can't look at anger and aggression as the same thing, because aggression could be a little bit more than anger. Well, it is a little bit more than anger because it has something to follow up with the anger. It's not just it's not the same as aggression, but it's a signal. It's just a signal. So let's just look at anger as what it is, a signal. What we do with it makes all the difference in the world. And so whenever anybody wants to chime in, because I want this to be a little bit interactive today. So if anybody wants to chime in, I may not be able to see your hand. So Deetra, if you could let me know if somebody's hand is raised, that would be great.
Okay.
Okay. Did y'all know it was a biology to anger? There is a biology to anger. Amygdala activation, that's a part of the brain. And then you got stress hormones that rise. You have the body preparing for action. But remember, even though the amygdala is activated, or your stress hormones rise and the body is preparing for action, that it's only a 90-second chemical wave. So it'll come for 90 seconds and then it will disappear. So once the body, or once anger hits, the body jumps in fast. And that's the biology of it. The brain hits the alarm. The stress hormones, they rush in. The heart starts to beat faster. That's that fight or flight thing. The heart starts to beat faster, and it's a full body moment. Like you can feel it. Y'all ever felt the anger coming on? Like your whole body gets involved in it. And interestingly, the chemical wave, like I said, only lasts 90 seconds unless we keep fueling it with our thoughts. Because you can be in a thought pattern, and if you don't let it go, it'll keep getting fueled. But knowing that helps us catch our breath and stay grounded. So we know the biology of anger, and then it comes, and it's going to be a full body experience. Then we need to catch ourselves and not let it go past 90 seconds so that we could get back on track. So breathing is a big part of getting back on track and staying grounded as you have one of these anger outbursts, or our bodies kick in as a result of us being angry. Anger as a messenger. Now, how could anger be as a messenger? So the message is boundaries may have been crossed. Your values may have been violated. Some kind of need that you have may be unmet. How about an old wound was touched? Or something you love feels threatened.
Mm.
Anger always, always has a message. It's usually trying to tell us something matters. Now, just think about that for a minute. Something matters, something hurts, or something needs attention. Like I said, maybe a boundary was crossed, a value that you have was crossed. Somebody touched an old wound or trigger or something feels threatened. When we listen to anger, and this is important, when we listen to anger instead of trying to silence it, it actually becomes surprisingly helpful because we can ask ourselves those questions. What is going on with the anger? Okay, Deetra.
Oh, okay. You saw it.
I
Okay,
saw it.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when I think about anger, when I think of myself, something that triggers for me is when someone treats me a way I have never been treated before. Like some people have been raised with being shouted at or cussed at or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But when that happens to me in this stage of my life, I didn't grow up with that at all. So when that happens, I can feel anger come up.
Mm-hmm.
Soon as somebody treats me that way,
Mm-hmm.
anger happens. I'm like, you're not gonna treat me like that because I wasn't raised like that. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's very important because some people get hit by triggers and some people trigger is, oh, that never happened to me. Oh, I didn't grow up with that. But some
Right.
people's trigger may be, I did grow up with that and that's how I'm going to react because that's what I grew up with and that's all I know. But that's a
Mm,
thing, and thanks for sharing that. And so here we're going to talk a little bit about that. There's pain beneath anger. Pain beneath anger.
mm,
Abandonment, betrayal, humiliation. Like you say, Dietrich, you could have been humiliated when somebody said that to you, or helpless,
right.
injustice. It's not right that somebody treats you that way. So
Right.
under anger, there's almost always a softer emotion. We don't show it easily.
Mm,
And that softer emotion is that the feeling of being rejected or worried will be left behind. Like kids, when they're babies, they feel like, you know how babies do, they cry when their parents leave because they don't know if they're going to come back because they haven't realized that, oh, she left and she's going to come back. It takes
right.
a while for a child to understand that they're not really abandoned. So that feeling of being rejected or worried you'll be left or hurt, that trust got broken.
Mm,
Yeah. Sometimes it's embarrassment. Yeah. We can be embarrassed. I know many times if somebody embarrassed me, and embarrassment comes unexpectedly. You don't expect nobody getting ready to embarrass you. But if somebody embarrasses me, that whole biology kicks in so fast on me and I get angry because it's not a good feeling to be embarrassed. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
what did you say? You what? Like, what say that? What? Why did you do something like that? And when you're embarrassed like that, sometimes you feel helpless. But if you're not feeling helpless and you want to stick up for yourself, you are going to say something about it. Or it just may be a deep sense that something is unfair. When those feelings don't feel safe to share, sometimes we ain't going to share our feelings right off the bat. If they
No.
don't feel safe to share, they often come out as anger instead.
Mm,
Because sometimes we can say, what you just said to me really made me upset, or it made me feel some kind of way, or, can we talk for a minute because I don't like the way that felt, what you did to me or what you said to me. Some people have that wherewithal about themselves that they can stop for a minute and have that conversation and say, hold on a minute, can we talk about this? But some people don't, and it comes out as anger. because
Yes.
they didn't know how to express it. So that's just something to think about. There is pain beneath that anger.
Yeah.
Anger as protection. So we got distance protects vulnerability. We got energy that protects against hopelessness. We got blame that protects from shame. Excuse me. Control protects from fear, and anger shields wounds. Let me clear my throat a second. So a lot of times anger is basically an emotional armor. Just thinking about it like that. An emotional armor.
Mm.
It steps in to protect us when vulnerability seems or feels too risky. It gives us energy when we feel helpless and gives us distance when we feel too exposed.
Mm-hmm.
Just think about that. It gives us distance when we feel too exposed. And it's not random. It's the body's way of trying to keep us safe.
Mm.
Look at anger as that protection, our body's trying to keep us safe. It's nothing that's random, but we need to use it to keep our distance, you know. And sometimes, you know, there are some ways that you can learn different things to help you teach you how to armor yourself or to keep distance and stuff like that. Okay, love beneath anger. Now this one, this is what I really like. The love beneath anger. So one thing that surprises me, or one thing that surprises people, is that anger often shows where love lives. Just think about that. Anger shows where love lives. Deetra, do you have your hand up again?
I did.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just thinking about what you said in the previous screen.
Mhm.
Um, is that sometimes people can be they show anger, and they have a reputation. They develop a reputation of being an angry person, or because they never really realize how to talk that through. Just like you said, how to really work through just talking with the person about whatever the issue is.
Mhm.
But they show anger. They want to, and they seem like an angry person because
Mhm.
that's what they always use, you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
So I just want to share that.
Yeah. I'm always reminded because I've had people say to me a lot, like, when I get angry, believe me, you know I'm angry.
Mm,
And I don't always have the right way, or I don't always express the right way that anger should come about. But learning this and teaching this is helping me a lot. So
yeah.
when I have a problem with certain things in my life, I like to figure out, okay, why is this problem here? And what do I need to do about it? And how am I going to handle it? And what tools do I need to put in place in order to deal with this anger? Because for a long time, many years, I was angry and I didn't really know why, but I figured it out as time went by. Because I remember my pastor putting me in a circle when we went to a class. And before I got in that circle, he asked me, he said, "How's it going, sister?" And the
Oh,
first thing that came out of my mouth is I said, "I'm angry."
mm,
And I really couldn't at that time express why I was angry. I just know I was angry, but it took some time with me asking myself important questions. Why are you angry, Stacy? And
mm,
deep and looking for the answer and searching it out. And I was always reminded, because sometimes people can throw it up in your face when you're angry and
mm,
say, "What you angry for? You angry, and make it look like there's something really wrong with you, like you really got a problem."
mm,
Instead of hearing the anger or seeing the anger, listening to what's beneath the anger. So love is beneath anger.
mm.
And like I said, the one thing that surprises people is that anger often shows up where love lives. Now, let me know if any of this resonates with you.
Okay.
We don't get angry about things we care about. I mean, yeah, we don't get angry about things we don't care about.
True.
Anger towards injustice means we value fairness. Anger at betrayal, somebody betraying you, means loyalty really matters to us. Anger at neglect means connection matters. And under almost every anger is a value that's important.
Hmm.
Anger shows us that we value fairness, trust, connection, safety, dignity. And like I said, we don't get angry about what we don't care about. If you don't care about it, you just ain't gonna get angry about it. Like whatever,
Right.
you're not gonna care about. You're not gonna care about it. Like our loved ones, for example. For me, my loved ones, I love my loved ones. And when
Yes.
my loved ones do something to me that I feel is unfair, or that I feel I'm being used or taken advantage of, or, crossing my boundaries and not respecting me as a human being, I get angry. And it's not because uh, I'm just an angry person, it's because I have all of these feelings. And underneath these feelings is anger because I don't want to be, uh, I don't want people to treat me unfairly. I,
Exactly.
I want I want to be able to trust people. And when I feel like I can't trust somebody because they're a thief or a liar or something like that, it makes me angry because I love the person and I don't want them to get caught up in being, a person that lies or a person that steals or a person that does unfair things to other people. So you want to be able to teach your children the things that they need to know so that they can treat people fairly, so that they can understand what love is all about. Because love is
Exactly.
beneath anger, and no one should be viewed as an angry person because they have this love attached to what this unfairness has been shown to them.
Okay, we have a hand.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just,
And oh, I'm sorry. After you, sorry.
Go ahead.
oh, okay. Yeah, I just wanted to say that when you brought this one up, the love beneath the anger, uh, I have a sister that we could go into it, and sometimes the anger is from something that, for me, um, something that I'm the older sister and maybe had to deal with the younger sister and stuff like that, in growing up and stuff. And when certain things, some topics, it just flares up. Just,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know that even if I have to go and talk about something with the business or with whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
that it's going to flare up, and I'm trying to say it as uh I don't know if this is the word, as good as I can, because I do have to talk about that particular thing that's about to change in the business or change in the household or change in the family.
Mm-hmm.
And so the love is there for both, but my God, it can just blow up, and especially if there's been some alcohol involved,
Mm-hmm.
it just and there's and so the no matter what I say, I love you. Why do you think I would do that? What is what? And it just
Mhm.
Yeah,
in me, I'm starting to get, angry because one, I'm like you, Dietrich. I do not like people yelling at me and doing.
I know.
I do not like it. If you want to get a reaction, yell at me.
Right.
you know
Right.
and it just you can feel, I mean, because I love you, can you just, that's whatever happened that was like 20 years ago, and it's going to, um this conversation is not going to be pleasant, and you're always all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It is so draining. It is so
Yeah.
draining, and I stand there, and I try to take it as much as I can, explain as much as I can, and the past is always coming up,
Mm.
always, and even the past was not that. It was not that, you know. So so you're dealing with something that really was not that in the first place, and then everything just piles upon that.
On it.
And then, then I need to walk away, or, that, like, this is the last time I'm going to deal with this. Okay. And then bam, a year later or months
Here
later,
it
or
comes.
whatever. And especially if Mr. Alcohol has been involved, right?
Right.
And so there is the love beneath, yeah, beneath that anger, because now you're saying something that I cannot break through. I can't break through that. And
Right.
Mm.
and and here's the thing, I don't want you to feel like that. I want you to get the breakthrough, you know,
Mhm. Right.
where that doesn't come up in you anymore, because obviously it hurts you.
Mhm.
When your mind goes there, it hurts. And oh my God, it's like,
That's Queen doing the talking, is it? Mm-hmm.
and yeah, so that I don't even look forward to those kind
Right.
of conversations. And then I turn around and still help in that area to, whatever, but
Mhm.
that does not feel good. And when anger comes upon me, it's like, if I don't know you, it could be that I fear you might do something. And my body goes through these changes of
Mhm.
protection that, I don't want to slap the hell out of you. I don't want to do that, but you're
Right.
starting to get there, because my body, and the fact that sometimes you about to eat and that happens, you're not hungry no more. Your body goes through all these changes and stuff. But
Yeah.
but that love beneath that anger, oh my God,
It's so real.
I'm blessed that, if my husband and I, which is seldom, get into a disagreement, and both of us forgive easily,
Mhm.
easily.
Mhm.
We
Good.
are, I don't know if we're both Aquarians, but
Mhm.
so, but during when you're going through it,
Mhm.
and your voice is louder, and oh God, but I don't even know what to do about the other thing. I'm like, where are you getting your spiritual, where are you getting that to help you through that so
Mhm.
you can get over that, you
Mhm.
know? So anyway, I just wanted to share that the anger, yeah, and what we value, because I love her,
Mhm.
and what that is, I can't change that, because it wasn't real. So,
Mhm.
I just say, I'm sorry you feel, but when you get nasty
Mhm.
about it, then
Mhm.
I may have to, uh, most of the time I try to just leave, but yeah, that thing right there, when you love somebody, because you can't just disappear. You still
Right. Right. Right.
you still have to see each other.
Right. So,
Anyway,
Deetra, what did you
Okay.
say
Yeah. For
again?
me, I'm thinking back to years ago, when there was a relationship and love was there for me on my side, his too. But I would use tears. I was a crier. So I would cry whenever things came to me, like I was like, ugh, you know. But now I am a person to walk away. So I'm with you, Queen, on that. I would just leave the room and go take a deep breath and just deal with it on my own. So that's how I deal with it now. So, but I used to cry. I mean, I had tears all over the place. But I'm not with that person anymore. So
yeah, but those of you who are just coming in, we're talking about the love beneath the anger. And the one thing that surprises people is that anger often shows up where love lives. And we don't get angry about things that we don't care about.
Yeah.
Anger towards injustice means we value fairness. Anger at betrayal means that loyalty matters to us. Anger at neglect means connection matters. And under almost every anger is a value that's important. So I'm gonna move on to the next screen. Childhood roots. Okay, so now I want us to look back at our childhood and ask some important questions of ourselves, because a lot of how we handle anger now comes from what we grew up with. Like Dietrich was saying, she grew up a certain way. If we were ignored, criticized, or left to manage big emotions alone, that leaves an indelible mark on our lives. If childhood was chaotic, or we had to grow up too fast, anger becomes a way of coping. These patterns make sense when we look back. So looking back at emotional neglect, abuse, conditional or unconditional love, chaos, parentification, or comparison, looking back at all of these things makes sense when we look back at why that anger is showing up in our lives, because it's attached to love and because we need to nurture it, and so to say. So attachment styles, and there are some attachment styles, anger and attachment styles. Our relationship patterns shape our anger too. Some people express anger directly. Some turn it inward. Some get anxious, and some shut down completely. These patterns usually come from how safe and or how unsafe we feel. It is felt to express needs early on. These are expressed, the needs early on. It's not just how we are. It's how we learned to survive emotional moments. We are gonna have some emotional moments in our life, but this is how we have learned to survive, you know, how we feel secure, and you know, how we can avoid things, or it's just how we survive. And then hidden forms of anger. How about sarcasm? Now, some people can be really sarcastic when they're angry. Passive aggression. Depression is a form of hidden anger. Anxiety is a form of hidden anger. Perfectionism. You ever know anybody just gotta be perfect all the time?
Yes.
Place. Over functioning can be a form of anger, and also down. Anger doesn't always look like anger. Sometimes it sounds like I said, sarcasm, or it shows up as professionalism or being perfect, or it comes out as the passive aggression comments. Sometimes it shows up in ways that we don't expect it to show up. And sometimes we just go numb.
Okay, we have a hand.
Okay, all of these can
Oh, sorry.
be anger wearing a disguise. Okay, go ahead, Simone.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Hey.
Yeah, just go. I'm gonna try to sum up my story. So my whole story, because I'm mad, but I learned how to deal with my mad, with knowing that anger puts stress on your body, and I don't want to stress out to bring on no ailments because I have a daughter. But that was one way. But breathing everything that we're talking about, I'm so happy we're covering this base. But like in my dilemma, my husband and my father-in-law, we were all living together, the four of us, my daughter, husband, and father-in-law. Uh, Someone, they, threw a firebomb at our front door. They shot up over like 50 rounds at our back door. Me and my daughter had her in my arms. So we're looking at bullets fly, at us. My husband and father-in-law didn't make it. We went through so many detectives to try to figure out, still haven't. So you guys can understand like the anger or the frustration. But yeah, just learning how to deal with something is something that helped me too, just TMI. But I did try the magic mushroom and it learned for me to how to accept something that I don't understand and I don't have control over. And we do it with humans. So
Yeah.
whatever, we all human. But whatever in the dark will come to light, always flip the negatives to positives. That's something I had to learn a very hard way. But psyching your brain out a little bit and just to have a little laugh. Right now, I'm in that sarcasm mode to where, I know hurt people hurt people. So I flip mine to where I just laugh. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry if that was offensive, but let me back up a little bit or check myself.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm just happy we covered this base. But I love all y'all. But I go back to this note.
Love you too, honey.
Thanks for sharing that, Simone. And
No
I am
problem.
very empathetic towards you for what you had to endure. Because I know that's something that, could be really, really hard to deal with. And it could be a lifelong thing. So yeah, finding the tools to help you through that is going to be key.
Look, and I live in Dearborn, so it's fireworks every night. It took me so long how to deal with my PTSD, depression, anxiety, all panic attacks. And I'm like, okay, breathe. That's the key.
Yeah.
So once you do that and try to flip to have a positive mindset, it could be worse. So we here to deal with what is ever thrown our way. So happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, all right, no problem.
Okay. So
Danielle, she's trying to, is that your hand, Danielle? Oh.
I can't find the reaction on this phone. This is but I do want to say sometimes it's being allowed to express your anger. And for such a long time, I kept a lot of anger suppressed because you hear people say, deal with your emotions and different things of that nature. Sometimes you need to release that. You do need to release it because repelling it is just as bad as constantly being in a state of the opposite of being in a state of anger. And like Stacy said, it only lasts so long. And then if you follow the principles of Abraham Hicks, you're only supposed to be in a certain low vibration uh status anyways for like under 17 seconds because it attracts other things with it. But it's good to at least recognize for under those 20 seconds that you're angry and then switch your what is it, your mood around that. So I used to have a sister that used to have one of those spiritual escape rooms, and you get to like write everything that you're angry about or stuff that you want to release on a plate and then throw the plate up against the wall to like there are exercises and stuff out here that people can do to actually deal with the anger, even if it's the anger of being grief and different things of that nature. But it's like people got to be allowed to express in a healthy way. Let's say it like that. You should be able to express it in a healthy way, and then also just deal with the cause as to why that is. Everybody should have a way to have a healthy release. So don't sit there and tell somebody, oh, that's not the proper. That may be the proper way for them for right here, right now, for what they know. And then, you know what I'm saying? You learn better. You do better. For me, I'm in better communication. I'm expressing myself. If I'm angry, I'm angry. And I realize, you know, by me being a Leo, that's a common trait. If we're angry, let us get it out. Otherwise,
Yeah.
that suppression is like far worse than not releasing.
Yeah. And that
Okay,
goes on
yes.
to the next section, the next cost. There's a cost to suppressing it. Good point, Danielle, that you made. When we
Look, they
push
say those
anger
little
down,
pebbles add up to a volcano, and the kraken will be unleashed.
yeah. When we push anger down, guess what? It don't disappear. The body holds on to it. It shows up in tension. If you tension in your shoulder, it shows up in headaches, exhaustion, or constant on edge feeling. Being on edge all the time. That's how it's going to show up. Emotionally, it can turn into sadness if you suppress it. It could turn into burnout, resentment. It's like stuffing a closet full. Eventually, the door is going to pop open.
That's right.
We do not want to suppress. There's a cost to suppressing anger, and there's also a cost of explosion, uncontrolled anger. Now, we don't want to have no uncontrolled anger. Now, the scripture says, be angry, but sin not. And then it also says, put away anger. That means that anger, it's here, don't sin, take it and put it somewhere else.
Mhm.
Act like it don't exist. Don't suppress it, but just put it somewhere else. Swinging, okay, uncontrolled anger swings to the other extreme. Letting anger explode can cause damage that's hard to undo. Now, just imagine that. There's a lot of things out here in this world going on right now that anger had something to do with it, and it was uncontrolled, and it's hard to undo. Sometimes it's undoable. You can't undo it. People get hurt, trust breaks, and relationships get shaky. And often after the anger fades, there's a lot of regret, a lot of shame that's left behind. Some things you can't undo. Like when we say certain things to people, you can't unsay that. It's already out there. You can't undo it. So neither extreme really works well for us. So wisdom, the wisdom of healthy anger. Now there's a version of anger that's actually healthy. It actually helps us say, this isn't okay. It reminds us of our needs and our values, our needs and values. It pushes us to speak up. It pushes us to set boundaries. It pushes us to make changes. Healthy anger is steady, it's clear, and it's grounded. It's not chaotic, and it's not explosive. So recognizing patterns, triggers. Everyone has patterns with anger. Certain triggers. We know our triggers. We don't have to say them right now for the sake of trying to get through this presentation. We know our triggers. We know our reactions. We know how we react in certain things. We know the physical cues that show up in our body like clockwork. When you know those patterns, or when you know your patterns, you can start catching anger before it gets too loud. Yeah. You can begin to understand what it's trying to protect. And that's when it's going back to what I'm saying. You have to ask yourself those questions. Why am I angry? What caused me to get angry? Because if you don't ask those questions, sometimes you can just go on angry, and people are like, what's wrong with you? And then some people will readily say, I don't know. But we have to know what's wrong with us. We have to dig deeper. We have to understand what it is that is wrong with us. So next I'm going to talk about the anger cycle. And in the anger cycle, we have trigger, we have interpretation, we have physical response, emotion, behavior, and consequence. Anger has a rhythm, and this right here, this cycle is the rhythm. Sometimes something triggers us. This is the rhythm. When we get triggered, we interpret it. Then our body reacts. The emotion grows, and then we choose a behavior. And whatever behavior we choose usually creates what? Consequences. You ever told your kids there's going to be some consequences or repercussions if you do that? There's going to be some consequences, sometimes good, but sometimes not so much. Seeing this cycle helps us find the moment where we can interpret it or interrupt it. We want to interrupt it. So the first one being trigger, the trigger one. An intervention you can do for triggers. Some triggers we can avoid. Some we can manage. And some are simply just a part of life. You're just going to go through life and you watch your day, going through your day, and something is going to trigger you. The goal isn't to eliminate them, but to understand the triggers. And once we know what sets us off, it's much easier to respond instead of reacting. And then we have, interpretation. This is an intervention. Identify your top triggers. A lot of our anger comes from the stories we tell ourselves about what happened. What are you saying to yourself about what happened? Is it actually true what happened? Because in our anger, in the stories that we telling ourselves, if we're mad at somebody, what story do they have? You know, what relationship do you have with that person? How well do you understand them when it is that they get angry? So sometimes we assume intent. We assume that somebody intended to hurt us. And we fill in the blanks from past experiences. When we slow down and look at the story itself, sometimes the anger shifts immediately. What are we telling ourselves about the story? And then we have the intervention that we can do when the body responds to stuff like this. When anger hits the body, that's often the perfect moment to pause. And it is. And sometimes it's hard. When the anger in your body feels something, sometimes it's hard to pause. If you take a few breaths or a few slow breaths, or maybe use a splash of cold water, because you're in that fight or flight. You need that cold water to calm you down. Or just take a short walk. These reset the nervous system, because believe me, when we're in that anger cycle, the nervous system is in high gear, you're in fight or flight, and you gotta settle down. But when the body settles, the mind gets clear too. So you have to settle your body down in order for your mind to get clear. And another intervention is the emotion. Underneath anger, or underneath the anger, there's almost always another feeling. When we can name that softer emotion that's underneath that softer emotion being like hurt or fear or disappointment, when we can name it, it changes the whole experience. It softens us. It gives us clarity about what it is that we actually need. And then the cost, one second. The anger cycle also talks about the intervention of behavior. Before we respond, there's always that tiny gap where we can choose how we're going to show up. We can choose how we're going to show up. And I learned that when I was learning how to respond instead of react. Asking what outcome we actually want gives us control back, or gives the control back to ourselves. So it's a constant talking back and forth to yourself. So then we'll stop reacting from emotion and start responding from what? Intention. We have to be very intentional when it comes to anger. Very, very intentional. So the anger cycle, okay. The role of forgiveness. Okay. Now this is the part that's really, really important. Forgiveness is really about releasing the emotional hold something has on us. Releasing the emotional hold that something has on us. It doesn't mean forgetting, because we ain't gonna forget. You already know that. It doesn't mean excusing it, acting like it didn't happen. And it definitely doesn't mean reconnecting. That don't mean you got to go back and reconnect with somebody. You can forgive them and not be in their space ever again. You don't have to be there. It doesn't mean reconnecting. It's a process. Everyone moves through it at their own pace. So we should never be judgmental about how somebody moves through anger and how long it takes them to get from understanding it, knowing what it is, responding and not reacting, and going through that whole stuff, because it takes time for some people. Go ahead, Deetra.
Okay, just real quickly, I just want to say that a lot of times forgiveness begins with forgiving ourselves. Sometimes it's easier to forgive others when you get through forgiving yourself for something. So that's key to me. So I just want to share that.
Yes, that is so true, Deetra. Because if we don't forgive ourselves, we don't start the healing process.
Right.
And it's very important to heal from whatever it is that makes us angry, because sometimes anger can stay in a space for a long time. Like I was saying earlier, I was angry for some years. When I adopted my grandchildren with the intention of their mother coming back to get them, and she never came back, and I'm hoping and hoping and hoping, and she never came back, that made me angry. And it caused some things, it caused me to react in a certain way. It took me some years to get over that. That's what I'm saying about, you can't judge a person because they're in anger and how long it takes them to get from one step to the next step to the point where they can actually deal with it, because it takes time for some people. The first thing is they have to acknowledge it, understand what it is, and go from there. So there is a role in forgiveness. And like I said, it doesn't mean you have to reconcile with somebody, connect with somebody, but go through it at your own pace. So there is some daily practices that we can do. This is what's key right here. Mindfulness, movement, sleep, emotional check-ins. That's important. Emotional check-in. What emotion am I feeling right now? You know, am I anxious right now? Am I depressed right now? Do I have anxiety to the point where I don't know what's going on? Am I sometimes anxiety leads to panic attacks? You know, what is going on with me? Emotionally check in. Little daily habits really add up. Now, these things that we do, we could just take a few moments of mindfulness. We could take a few moments to get up and move around, and we can take a few moments to pay attention to how we are feeling. These small things gives us space between the stimulus and the response. Those are daily practices. Weekly practices: reflection, communication practice, regulation tools, and building capacity. Checking in on ourselves once a week helps anger make sense. Let's go back and review. Looking back at those moments, or looking back at tough moments, noticing what worked, What was it that you did that helped you get over it last time?
Mhm.
What worked for you? And if it worked, practice communication skills slowly. And when you do that, it shifts how we move through conflict. And Dietra, I think you are a perfect example of how you are so humble. I see you as a very humble person, a very soft-spoken person, a person that if I can see you, like I can visualize it. Like if somebody make you hurt, I can just visualize you taking a moment, going somewhere, chilling out. Me, not so much.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
still working through some things. So
Look at, I'm sorry to cut you off. And my auntie, she has been that same way my whole life. Like my aunt Deidre has never like switched up. She has been the most humblest person I've ever known.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
And
Thank
that
you.
has a lot to do with how you brought up too. You know,
Yeah.
she
Amen.
was brought up in a place where we didn't argue and scream and holler at each other.
No.
I was brought up in the atmosphere that there was always screaming, hollering, getting your butt whooped for something you didn't do. So, you know, there was a difference in how people were raised. Until you know somebody's background, that's why you can judge somebody and how long it takes them to get, because some people don't even know how they got where they got. They need to go back and revisit
Yep.
their life, their childhood, to try to find out, to bring them up to the day and see what's going on.
Those childhood traumas, people don't even know that they deal with traumas, especially with being children. So yeah,
Exactly.
that's very deep.
Mm-hmm. Childhood trauma is a whole nother talk.
Right.
I mean, we could go deep with that childhood trauma. So then we'll talk about some key takeaways. Anger is almost always a second layer. It points to what matters. It points to what hurts and what we value. When we pause, we gain choice. When we understand anger, we gain clarity. And when we express it well, as Dietra does,
Oh,
we
thank you.
gain connection, reflection, exercise. So reflection and exercise. So if we take a moment to personally reflect on ourselves, what actually stood out in this whole conversation? And what do you want to shift as an individual? What deeper emotion that you're holding on tends to sit underneath your anger? And who in your life can help you grow in these ways? And so I'm going to sum it up with Aristotle. Y'all know Aristotle, right? Aristotle has a quote about wise anger, and he sums it up beautifully by saying, it's easy to feel anger or feel angry, but expressing it wisely is the real skill.
Ah.
It's the real skill and the real deal. Express it wisely, like Dietra does.
I love philosophy.
Yes, that's his philosophy. So I'm going to stop sharing. Uh-oh, wait a minute. Oh, I know how to do this. Escape. The share. Bring us back together.
But I want to say I appreciate all of you ladies. It was just ironic because I was actually looking for therapy for my whole original nucleus.
Mm-hmm.
And, they all agreed to do a family therapy. But then, of course, when it came down to it, it was a whole nother scenario.
Mm-hmm.
But with me, going back to a lot of people, they say it's like I'm talking to a therapist. And it's like, no, I just been through a few things and we got plenty more living to go. Like when they
There
say
you
it
go.
take a lifetime of living to learn how to live,
Mm-hmm.
if we will and we will learn something new every day.
Yeah.
And it's like and keeping that calm to not bring the ailments out or stress or put any type of negativity over our body. We see how this world is.
Mm-hmm.
But us being one, humanity, one
Yeah,
race, one God, one love, we all in this together.
we are. We are.
Yeah. So there are moments, like just to sum this all up, there are moments when anger, and this is just to say when it is comes or when it comes a time that we need to seek help. There are moments when anger becomes too heavy to carry alone,
Mm.
or when it starts hurting us or hurting the people we love. So it could be a sign to bring in some support, like she was saying, a therapy or some groups, and skilled-based help can make a huge difference. So if you need to reach out to someone about the anger, it's good to go ahead and do that. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So I want to say, thank everybody for, joining me today on this show, because this was a topic that was really near and dear to me. And I just thank God that I was able to bring it out, and it helped me out a lot. And I'm hoping that it helps some of you guys out as well.
It sure did. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you.
Yeah. So we're going to end our show with a big hug.
Ooh, wait.
We're going to the world, bring them in, all the angry people, through their traumas. And we're having patience with them and loving on them and giving them all the care that we need and sprinkling that love out to them in ways that they need it. And tomorrow we have Madam Finance. Yes. What is it? Wealth Building Wednesday. Wealth Building Wednesday. So let's come tomorrow and support Alicia on Wealth Building Wednesday on tomorrow.
Yes.
Yes. So
Great show.
thank you.
Okay. Thank you for being here, everybody.
All right.
Peace
All right,
Have a good day.
Peace out. Peace in.
Peace out.